Ambassador Varro's deliberations. As the setting sun painted the Veritan homeworld skyline with a splash of vibrant hues, Ambassador Varro found himself by the floor-to-ceiling window of his office, gripped by a contemplative silence. The usually bustling cityscape below now resonated with an air of somber resolve, mirroring the escalating intergalactic tensions that were seeping into the Veritan society. Varro, a seasoned diplomat and a veritable pillar of the Veritan community, was no stranger to the burdens of his position. Yet, the revelations from the data recorder had infused a newfound gravity to his responsibilities. The stakes were higher, the implications far-reaching, and the decisions to be made fraught with unanticipated complexities. He was at the precipice of a decision that could alter the fate of his people, and the weight of it was almost palpable. Inside his office, Varro assembled his strategic planning team. The grim reality of the situation reflected in their eyes as the magnitude of the latest findings dawned upon them. "Our ship's destruction was not accidental," Varro began, his voice reverberating through the room. "We have been targeted, and the evidence we possess implicates the humans." Murmurs of disbelief and concern permeated the room. The humans, despite their diplomatic tiffs with the Veritans, were still seen as potential allies. The notion of accusing them now felt like a deep-seated betrayal, a sentiment Varro himself grappled with. Before the dismay could fully set in, Talia, the head of Veritan intelligence, intervened. "There's no definitive proof," she cautioned, slicing through the room's tension with her pragmatism. "Doubt is a luxury we can no longer afford," Talia retorted Varro. His gaze hardened as he continued, "But you're correct. We need to confirm our suspicions before launching official allegations." In the midst of these strategic debates, Varro found himself wrestling with the personal implications of the situation. The memory of his time among the humans, their kindness, their indomitable spirit, and their capacity for empathy had fostered a deep respect for them. The thought of them as potential aggressors was unsettling, yet he was reminded that interstellar politics seldom presented a clear picture. An update during the meeting added another layer of complexity to their predicament. A thorough review of the sensor logs from a Veritan ship that had swept the area before the disaster revealed an anomaly, a shadow, nearly imperceptible but distinct enough to be noticed on a careful observation. The data was immediately relayed to the military's elite unit, and their response added fuel to the growing fire of suspicions. The shadow was identical to their own stealth ships, the very type they had used to plant the bomb on the human flagship. Yet, as far as they knew, the humans still had possession of that captured ship. It was a chilling realization that pointed an accusing finger directly towards the humans. The room fell into a stunned silence at this revelation. The evidence was mounting, the situation rapidly evolving, and the path ahead increasingly murky. As the meeting adjourned, Varro found himself alone in his office once again, the city's glow outside his window a stark contrast to the darkness of their situation. Varro knew, as the city continued to shine against the falling night, so too would the Veritans, no matter what lay ahead. He would ensure that his people would navigate through this tumultuous phase, guided by unity and resolve. His role, more crucial now than ever before, was clear. The night was just beginning, and he had a job to do. Preparing for war. The Veritan Military Command Center was a beehive of activity. Overhead screens displayed readouts of the Veritan Space Fleet's current status, a swarm of officers coordinating operations from the center's nerve hub, and the air was thick with a tense mixture of dread and determination. Supreme Commander Lycon, the Veritan military's seasoned leader, stood in the center of the commotion, his gaze transfixed on the display screens. His mind was busy constructing a strategy, already considering various scenarios, from surgical strikes to full-blown warfare. The recovered data recorder had delivered the ominous possibility of war straight to their doorstep, and he intended to be prepared. Lycon was not a man who took lightly to the prospect of conflict, but he was no stranger to it either. The glint in his eyes spoke of countless battles fought, victories earned, and lives lost. The stakes were different now, more personal. The enemy was not some faceless entity lurking in the unknown regions of space, but a race they had known, negotiated with, and considered a potential ally. The news from Varro's meeting had made it to him, and the shadow on the sensors only intensified the seriousness of the situation. If it's war they want, he thought, clenching his fists, then we'll give them a war they won't forget. He directed his officers to prepare their forces for potential mobilization. Resources were reassigned for weapons production and ship fortification. Planetary defense systems were recalibrated, and military outposts on the fringe worlds were put on high alert. But preparing for war was not just about strengthening their military prowess. Lycon knew he had to rally public support for the cause. He addressed the Veritan populace, his words echoing through every home, every public square, and every corner of the Veritan homeworld. His speech was a call to unity, reminding them of their strength and resilience, and the necessity to stand against those who threatened their peace. As he spoke, he was aware of the fear and uncertainty reflected in the eyes of his people. He felt it too, but war was not a time for fear. It was a time for unity and resolve. His words were designed to kindle hope, but more importantly, they were a grim reminder of the reality they were now facing. The message reverberated throughout the Veritan society, igniting a spark of unity among the populace. Families huddled together around their holographic screens, holding each other tighter as Lycon's voice filled their homes. It was a chilling moment, one that marked the potential end of peace and the possible beginning of an unwanted war. Despite the gravity of the situation, a sense of camaraderie and resolve seeped into the fabric of the Veritan society. From the bustling city centers to the quiet rural outskirts, Veritans braced themselves for the upcoming storm. The fear was there, but so was the determination to stand together, to protect their homeworld, their way of life. As the preparations gained momentum, and the Veritan homeworld stood on the brink of conflict, Lycon found himself back in the command center. The once steady hum of the center was now a roaring orchestra of strategic war planning. The screens flickered with their defense readiness, and his officers moved with newfound urgency. As the reality of war loomed closer, Lycon could not shake off the image of the shadow on the sensors. If the shadow indeed belonged to a human stealth ship, it meant they had already infiltrated their space. This was no longer a question of if but when the war would start. He let his gaze linger on the screens one last time before he turned away, the echoes of a potential war resonating within the walls of the command center. The Veritans were ready. They had to be. The future of their civilization might very well depend on it. Operation Shadow Veil. Aboard the Phantom, a stealth ship retrofitted with salvage technology from the Veritan Infiltrator, a team of human operatives readied themselves for a covert operation. This mission, an echo of the Veritans' brazen act of sabotage against the Resurgence, had high stakes. A small Veritan frigate had drifted too close to human space, and the Phantom Division, under the command of Admiral Sandra Kane, was tasked with capturing it. The Phantom was a testament to human ingenuity and adaptation. While human forces had access to their own stealth technology, the confiscated Veritan Infiltrator had presented novel design elements and advanced tech that they'd integrated into their own systems. The result was a fusion of human and Veritan engineering, an invisible, silent predator. Their target was a small Class B Veritan frigate, lightly armed and manned by a skeleton crew of 20. The aim was to take control of the vessel without alerting the Veritans, an operation as delicate as it was dangerous. As the Phantom neared its target, a palpable tension filled the stealth ship. Every crew member on board knew the plan: silence, speed, and precision. An EMP device, specifically designed to disrupt Veritan systems temporarily without causing permanent damage, was at the heart of their strategy. The EMP device, a product of intensive study of the Veritan Infiltrator, was small but potent. Attached to a boarding pod, it was set to activate the moment they attached to the Veritan frigate, creating a brief window of chaos during which the humans could board undetected. With the Phantom veiled by advanced cloaking and moving silently through the blackness of space, the EMP-equipped boarding pod disengaged from the stealth ship and made its way towards the unsuspecting Veritan frigate. As the pod latched onto the alien vessel, the EMP device activated, and the frigate was momentarily plunged into darkness. Back on the Phantom, Admiral Kane watched the frigate go dark. It was the signal they'd been waiting for. The boarding team moved swiftly, exploiting the brief period of confusion on board the Veritan ship. Armed with non-lethal weapons, they infiltrated the vessel, disabling the crew before they could fully comprehend what was happening. In less time than it took for the Veritan ship systems to reboot, the frigate was under human control. Admiral Kane let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Phase 1 of Operation Shadow Veil was a success. The crew quickly set to work, studying the Veritan technology aboard the captured frigate while simultaneously setting a course deeper into Veritan territory. This captured vessel was a goldmine of information and potentially a weapon, a Trojan horse ready to strike at the heart of the Veritan military if necessary. Back in the council chambers, Ambassador Solane's datapad blinked with an encrypted message. Falcon has the nest. The operation had been successful. As he absorbed the implications of this success, he steeled himself for the battle to come. The humans had demonstrated they were no pushovers. The Veritans may have initiated this game of cat and mouse, but humanity was proving they could play just as well. The balance of power was wavering, and the next move would be critical. Accusations and aspersions. The Galactic Council chamber was fraught with anticipation as Ambassador Solane prepared to take the central platform. The faces of representatives from countless intergalactic states bore expressions ranging from curiosity to apprehension, a testimony to the escalating tension. Solane took a deep breath, steeling himself. He was about to voice allegations that could possibly spark a conflict on a galactic scale. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Solane began, his voice echoing through the silent hall, we have gathered here to seek truth and justice. To understand the cause and the potential instigators of the tragic incident involving the destruction of a Veritan vessel. A holographic display blinked to life at his command, showing security footage of Veritans bringing weapons into the Council chamber. The sacred ground of this chamber was violated by the Veritans, who dared to bring weapons onto this hallowed soil. Such actions speak volumes of their lack of respect for our collective values. The murmurs that arose at this proclamation were quickly hushed as Solane continued, but their transgressions don't stop at dishonoring this chamber. I stand before you as a testament to their direct aggression towards humanity. The display changed, showing evidence of the failed assassination attempt on his life. This is the evidence of a failed attempt on my life, orchestrated by the Veritans. It is an unprovoked attack on the peace that we've been striving to maintain. The display transitioned once more, this time to sensor logs and images of the Veritan stealth ship, the Infiltrator, that was discovered trying to plant a bomb on the Resurgence, the human flagship. They've infiltrated our space, deployed stealth ships with the aim to sabotage our flagship. This level of aggression is simply unfathomable. Finally, Solane paused, taking a moment to let his words sink in. The chamber was eerily silent as he presented his final piece of evidence, the report on the Veritan ship's explosion. The Veritans are now facing an internal crisis. Our analysis suggests that the ship's destruction could be the result of internal subversion, a terrorist act perpetrated by their own kind. This indicates a severe failure on their part to maintain internal order. He stepped back, letting the full weight of his accusations settle on the assembly. We stand here, at a crossroads. The Veritans have shown repeated aggression against humanity, even as they're unable to maintain peace within their own ranks. They violated the sanctity of this council, threatened our lives, and jeopardized interstellar peace. He raised his gaze, meeting each representative's eyes. The evidence is undeniable, the pattern of aggression clear. And so, I ask you, in the face of this escalating hostility, what are we to do? What would any of you do? As Solane retreated from the platform, the chamber broke into a flurry of whispers and hushed conversations. The galaxy teetered on the edge, its fate hanging on the council's next decision. The specter of war loomed, its shadow cast over the tense faces of the representatives. The die had been cast, the next move was up to the Veritans. Summary. In a tense series of events, the Galactic Council continues its deliberations about the Veritan ship's destruction amidst rising accusations and evidence of foul play. Veritan Ambassador Varro grapples with the implications of this data, as does the Veritan military as it begins preparations for a potential conflict. Meanwhile, a secret human operation successfully infiltrates and commandeers a small Veritan frigate, using stealth technology inspired by the Veritans' own infiltrator ship. Amidst these developing situations, human Ambassador Solane stands before the Council, painting a damning picture of the Veritans' recent actions, from weapon smuggling to assassination attempts, and hinting at internal strife within the Veritan ranks. The accusations hang heavy in the chamber, leading the Council to the brink of a major decision.